For everybody else, I just thought you guys were the perfect couple. You look good together, and I just, I wanted to ask you, were there any signs before you entered into this marriage? Because looking on the outside, you guys look like you were happy. You look like you were so happy. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people always say that whether it's a women's intuition, little hairs on the back of your neck, there's always something, mm-hmm. That lets you know, whether we choose to ignore it or what, there's always something. So I guess my question is, was there something that maybe had put a question mark that you decided to ignore it and then step into the marriage?
Yes, the question is, if you didn't hear, was there any signs before marriage? And absolutely, there were signs. I spoke of a couple of them in the book, one of which was my mother. She said, "Why are you doing that?"
That's true. That's true.
Sign number one.
That's true. That's true.
Sign number two, well, one of the signs, I guess I shouldn't number them, but he was sick. He had renal kidney failure. And his mother was paying certain bills for him while he was not being able to work. But then, as I wrote in the book, I found some bill that was for X amount of $100, and it was a cutoff notice, I think, for a phone bill. But I guess that was a sign. Again, another thing that I did wrong, because this book is not just about mistakes and errors in his character and his judgment, but also mine. It was a relationship, and I ignored. And I guess one of the basic things is, if you're going to marry somebody and spend your life with them, you should at least spend time with them. And I didn't spend very much time with him. I thought of him as a friend. I really thought I knew him because I knew him before. We were not dating when he asked me to marry him or to consider marrying him. But we were friends. We were very good friends. And because I loved him as a friend, and I felt like he was at a time where he needed help and a better life, in his condition, I agreed to marry him, and that was not the best choice. That was not a good thing to do. I am not anybody to make anybody's life better. That's not my responsibility. So yes, there were signs, many, I'm sure, and yes, they were ignored. Yes,
well, I'm glad you said you're not mad, because when I was reading the book, I was mad. I was going through it. I really got angry with him, and it gave me just a pride about you to see that you endured all of that. But my question is, how did you feel about exposing your life like that to this?
The question is, how did I feel about exposing my life? And I really didn't think about it that much. That was not the biggest thing for me, because that was hidden in there. Kind of, I guess the forefront for me was to tell the story, to let people know the real deal. And if that meant that I would be exposed, then I would be exposed. And once I pushed the button to publish it, then I felt it a little bit. Like, oh my God, girl. People gonna know your stuff, So as I was doing it, and I started good, then I didn't really get into it like that. Like, oh my God, I think about it every now and then, but I didn't dwell on that because there's a bigger message in it. It's not about me. I'm just a small part of that. And there's a purpose, and it's a plan. So that was, again, a byproduct of me being exposed, because nobody wants to be exposed. You want to put your stuff out there when, of course, I put it out there, right? But I didn't dwell on that. So it was, it made me feel a little, I told Lisa, I was like, oh, God, I pushed the button, this shit is on there already. That it's uploaded, it's right there, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. And then I just didn't focus on that part of it. And it's interesting that you say that, because Jacob did read the book, and he thought it was good, well written. He wished me well, and he said he was uncomfortable reading it, and embarrassed, and sickened, reflecting on how he mistreated me, but he's not that person anymore. So, of course, it was mostly like his exposure, but it really isn't just him being exposed. so many of us, me included, being exposed for not always making the best choices. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Sister Daisy.
Well, I had wanted to piggyback on Madeline's question, and that was in the part of the book when you told about the engagement,
Mm-hmm.
and John said something,
Yes.
you know, when you said
Yes.
that should have been assigned to you.
Yes.
I forget which chapter.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was piggybacking to Madeline's point.
Sister Daisy, Mother Daisy is referring to the part in the book where my former pastor, Jonas, asked me, jokingly, I thought, you know, you sure you want to do this? But he was, I mean, we joked together. I mean, we were friends. We were cool. So you know, he wasn't like when you talk to you inside. It wasn't like that at all. It was his usual playful, cheerful self, just like you sure you want to do this? Like that, literally. And, you know, I didn't pay him any, you know, it didn't strike anything with me, you know. But I guess he was doing as much as he could do, considering the circumstances and not being his friend and all the other stuff. And yes, Sister Sharon.
I have a question. Well, probably before the marriage, but after the marriage, and you saw where his mother was really like his backbone, did you ever feel like he married you for a second mother as opposed to being a loving wife? Because, I mean, you wrote the book where she could have paid the bill and do this and do that, and when you married him, he was in need of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, you know, I see a stable young lady, you know, she's working, she has, so do you feel like he married you more so for financial backing or stable as opposed to loving you as the friend that you loved him as?
Right. The question is, why do I think he married me? Was it for financial backing or was it as a mother? I really don't think it was for a mother. He has a weird relationship with his mother, and she didn't pay his bills all the time, but he was sick, and so she was picking up that responsibility. I do think he had a plan when he married me, and it wasn't for love. So yes, I was a ticket, and to me, I believe it was a means to an end, and I was that end. He in the book, I must say something like, towards the end, did Jacob ever love me? You have to ask Jacob. And he called me because he read the book, and he said, to answer your question, yes, I did. But love is not just words. Love is not just feelings. Love is an action. And I didn't feel that he loved me. Certainly not like a husband should love a wife. So he definitely had ulterior motives for marrying me, and I don't even have no money. Right, I had to say with him, yes, Brother Charles.
I have a question. At any time prior to or prior after, did you feel that you were an enabler in your marriage, more so than a wife?
Thank you. The question is, did I feel like I was an enabler more so than a wife in the marriage? And at the time, going through it, no, I didn't think I was an enabler. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do as a wife, and that is to, you know, be by your husband, support your husband, give him chances, pray for him, help him, whatever you do. Afterwards, looking at it, I still don't necessarily think that I was an enabler to him, because I didn't, and I guess most enablers don't condone it necessarily, the behavior, but I don't see that I was an enabler. Maybe so. I can take that. That could be, but you said enabler as opposed to a wife? I was definitely a wife, as I stated before, and I'll say it again. I was a good wife. Yes, sir.
Because a lot of times, I mean, you can be a good wife, but the person that you're with, you're really enabling them.
Right.
You understand? It's really a true difference, because some people can prey on you and you don't know it, and you're enabling them to keep doing what they're doing over and over again.
Right.
That's why it's has to.
Right. Well, this is a great question. And my sister Lynn, after it was happening, and it happened, and I told my family, and I was just saying how, you know, I felt bad and ashamed. I was ashamed, though in hindsight, I had nothing to be ashamed of or ashamed for. And she said, but, and I told her I was naive. And she was like, but Dee Dee, he deceived you. He was purposely deceiving you. So if somebody is doing that on purpose, then, you know, you can't decipher everything. And if you love this person and you thinking like how you feel towards that person, that they're there for you, that you love them and that you're going to do whatever it takes, that you think and you hope that if you married them, that they're going to have your back and they're going to do the same, you know, the same thing. So was I an enabler? Possibly so. But it was only for 3 years. So funny that you would ask that question. I was, again, entitled the book Fruit for years. Fruit, Memoirs of a Pastor's Wife. So Memoirs of a Pastor's Wife was always there. And it was based on the scripture, Matthew 7:16, where it says, you will know them by their fruit. And I would tell people about it, and one young lady, Sister Denise from my job, Denise Saunders, who bought like 15,000 books. Not really, but she said, well, when I think of fruit, I don't want to think, you know, I'm going to think some fruit, you know? And I didn't want, I mean, though I would have it categorized in the areas that I learned in relationship or spiritual or whatever, you still might think of something else other than what this is about before you get to Memoirs of a Pastor's Wife. So I started throwing around possible titles, and I would send it out to Sharon, Lisa, Rory, Pam. What y'all think about this? Angie, that? What y'all think about this title? You know? And they would vote and say, you know, I like this one or not this one, and I sent them. So I compiled them all, and I sent a couple to my girlfriend Janelle, who's actually the author, or sorry, the illustrator for the book cover. Sister Janelle, pray for us today. I call her my daughter, not because I'm old enough to be her mama, but because if I had a daughter, I want her just like her. And she said to me, it was in text, and I said, what do you think about these titles? And Mom was like, lie, cheat, kill us. Just something crazy, just stuff, you know. Because I wanted something more catchy, you know, that was kind of pull you in a little bit. And she replied back, she's like, strong. And then she said something else back, and she says, well, whatever happened to touch not my anointed? Of course, she's saying it in, you know, like, should you put that out there like that about this man of God? And I was like, who you talking about? I'm anointed just like, you know, he anointed. I shouldn't be messed with just like he shouldn't be messed with. We all children of God. And, you know, then I sent back to her because I didn't want to, I have learned, I'm learning over the years that not to take offense when somebody goes against what you say and how you feel about something, but receive it if you can and get the good out of it. And you know what I mean? So I sent it back to her and I thanked her for saying that and having another perspective about it. And I appreciated that. And then a couple of days later, Lisa and I were together, and I told her about the conversation with the Janelle and I had, and that it was, you know, I would say, thank you, Joneses, I signed your book.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, thank you. And she said, touch not my anointed, I like that. I'm like, you like that? She's like, yeah, I like that. I'm like, of course, there's a different, you know, spin on it, but I like that too. So that's how I came up with Touch Not My Anointed, Memoirs of a Pastor's Wife. To answer your question? Thank you. And of course, that's from 1 Chronicles 16 and 22, which it was pointed out to me that it was not placed in the book, the scripture reference. Any other questions? Yes. Debbie Winslow, Denise Winslow's twin. We went to Western together. That's Western over there, Western. Class 84.
I just wanted to let you know that when I read the book, I was really sad. It was really hard for me to get through it. However, I realized just how strong your spiritual base is. Oh my goodness, awesome. Because at points I was like, I wanted to kill him. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, oh my goodness, how did she handle it? And my question is, how did you keep this from your family for so long?